What's up, Dirt Trax Nation? Luke here, bringing you guys another walk around video. This time it is on Polaris's new 2025 Sportsman 570 Touring. This is the ultimate version. It has all the bells and whistles. Before I go any further, I just want to make one point about this vehicle. Now, the 570 comes in 4 trim models. The lowest end trim model has basically no features. It doesn't even have EPS. It's steel wheels. It's the most affordable version. Great for an entry-level vehicle, but it's by no means, you know, performance or luxury. And then you go up to the EPS model, and then you get into the premium, and then the ultimate. Now, the reason I bring all that up and to say there's 4 models, this ultimate version is the only one that has double A-arms up front. Everything else has McPherson struts. Now, I suspect this chassis is very similar to the 850 and 1000 chassis, and that's why the double A-arms are there. 8.9 inches of travel up front and 9.5 inches of travel in the rear. Preload adjustable shocks with a spring collar. How does it work compared to a McPherson strut? It's pretty dramatic. This vehicle rides better, handles better. It's just generally smoother. I do find it interesting though that this is the only 570 that comes with that front suspension. They're arched A-arms as well, which is super cool. Like, there was no expense spared on this thing. It really is the ultimate version. So, you know, if that's what you're going for, if you want to be the most impressive kid on the block, this is the one to get. New for this season is a new chassis. It is stiffer by a significant amount. Polaris claims it's 2 times stiffer than the old touring chassis. Obviously, all new bodywork. Completely new design in terms of visuals, new seat, new passenger seat. This has been completely redesigned. A lot of new stuff. Also on the Ultimate, we'll get into this in a second, but you can get 7-inch ride command display in the Ultimate 570 Touring, which is really, really cool. But what else? What else are we looking at? So I told you about the travel numbers. You've got 26-inch Duro tires wrapped around 14-inch aluminum wheels. They are not beadlocks, but they're nice looking aluminum wheels. It's not a square setup. The rears are wider than the fronts, but it's a really great tire combination. I mean, this Duro tire looks a lot like a Bighorn in my opinion, but they're great tires. They get awesome traction and they're really, really durable. So it's a nice combo here for this vehicle. You also get the bumper with the Ultimate package. So the bumper comes standard. It has a 3,500 pound Polaris winch with synthetic cable and auto stop. So this is Polaris's top of the line premium winch. Usually on ATVs, you get the lower end winch that doesn't have auto stop, but this one does. And one of my favorite things about the winch is Polaris's integrated winch control over here on the handlebars. It's so slick. It looks so nice. It's just integrated into the switch cluster so perfectly. They've done a great job with that. Rack extensions are also standard front and rear. They are standard on the premium as well, and I think even on the EPS. So that's not really a huge upgrade for the Ultimate, but they are standard as you see them. The gauge pod up here it's a different gauge pod, obviously, to house the 7S display, and it looks like a transformer, Bumblebee, I don't know, but it's really big, and it kind of looks funny from certain angles. The headlight's really cool. It has accent lighting, LED 3-beam headlights up here, HIDs. They're super great lights. The accent light looks really, really trick. But the pod is massive. There's no question about it. So, you know, that's a trade-off you're gonna have to make if you want 7S display, and I would make that trade-off any day. LED lights up here as well with auxiliary accent lighting, and in the back with accent lighting, so LEDs everywhere. The lighting on this is second to none. Oh, it comes with skid plates front and rear for the A-arms, which is nice, A-arm guards. This model has sort of all of the bells and whistles as well. It kind of has all the electronics. So it has on-command 4-wheel drive, it has engine braking, it has active descent control, it has multiple throttle modes, and something I actually haven't tried from Polaris yet, but I mean, it's not brand new, but something I haven't had a chance to use, is their multi-mode power steering. So you got adjustable power steering, which is really, really cool, and something I think they've needed for a while. So when you look at it, this thing is like the full electronics package. Everything you can possibly have, you get. On your dash here, you've got a USB outlet, you've got a 12-volt outlet over here, and then you've got your typical standard Polaris like battery tender charge port here, which can also work as a second 12-volt power source to power things, and they make an adapter to go to a whole bunch of different things for this. You can plug it in and have a USB, you can plug it in and have another round 12-volt, so that's pretty neat. Obviously your key is here, you get your shift modes over here. This is the winch control I was talking about that I really like, and the full 7S ride command display. So I'll turn the key on so you can see it, because it is really, really neat. And Polaris does a great job with this stuff. Like, their gauge packages have always been pretty good, especially their higher end stuff, but this takes everything to a whole nother level. And obviously you've got like your nav system, which is what's up here. But you have so many other options. You know, you can go into this display here, and this is where you get your ride modes, work standard, performance. It's also where your EPS level is, so low, medium, and high. You got your display controls, notification controls. Here's your gauge display, and this is what I would leave it on most of the time. And then of course, if you go down here to your widgets, you can adjust how the gauge is laid out. You can adjust whether you want round, whether you want a list of different widgets or a combination of the two. And then you can go in here and you can choose data and change all the different things that you want to show up on that gauge. And there's a lot of them to choose from. Anything you could possibly need is there. So I haven't messed with this one. This is not how I would have mine set up. I don't need to know my heading. And definitely not in two places. But anyway, it's a great gauge. And as usual, you can change that to look differently. So it's customizable, it's huge, it's touchscreen, it's glove compatible. You have alternate buttons here as well to run the gauge if you need to. You can get your menu from there. So there's multiple options for controlling it. It works great. What's interesting to me though is when I look at this, I'm going to call this the dashboard, let's say, of the vehicle. Everything is so trick and new and cool, except this switch cluster right here is the same one that's been on Polaris ATVs forever. It's like really, really old. Now, I'm not complaining about how it works. It works just fine, but like it's old. It's time for an update. That's one thing I'm going to gripe about. Obviously, you got single lever braking, and Polaris does a great job with their single lever braking in terms of bias front rear. No complaints there. This is the best single lever braking, I think, with an auxiliary foot rear brake down there. Let's talk a little bit about the 2-up. So as I said before, this is a redesigned 2-up seat. It is removable, which I'll do in a little bit. It's got better bolstering. It's designed to be more ergonomic for a passenger. You've got multiple handhold options here, which is interesting. And I was sitting on it earlier, and the one I'd want isn't there for a guy like me who's 6'1", but it's not really designed for people who are 6'1", I don't think. It's designed for, you know, your passengers are typically going to be smaller, but it's a really comfortable seat. In fact, I think it's more comfortable than the driver's seat. The driver's seat, I love this embossing in the driver's seat, the Polaris logo and everything, but when I sit on it, my butt cheeks hit two pieces of plastic kind of right on either side. I don't know what's underneath there, but whatever it is, it's solid on either side, right where I want to sit. And I'm not impressed with that. That needs to be fixed. When I sit back here, 100% comfortable. This is really cushy. One thing I do want to say though, that I find interesting, is that the passenger's backrest is not adjustable. Not all passengers are the same size. Not all passengers are the same height, the same width, have the same length of legs. I just feel like this should be adjustable. And I've said that to Polaris before, and I know a lot of people have. There's a reason they do it this way. I'm not sure what it is, but they've gone away, everybody has, from adjustable backrests, and that seems like a mistake. Pop this off like that. And what's cool about this setup, as you can see, with the 2-up seat removed, you don't need to buy a cover or anything to go in here to ride it in 1-up mode. The actual driver's seat goes all the way back onto the passenger seat. So literally you pop the seat off, you have a long chassis 1-up ATV. And it looks like a long chassis 1-up ATV. It doesn't look like you've got a giant hole back here like some other 2-up vehicles do when you take the seat off. Let's see if I can get this back on properly. There you go, easy as that. That's a really slick setup. That's really easy to do. Also, just a little note, check these out, these little leg pads here for the passenger, which is pretty cool. I'm not really sure why those are necessary, but I'm not going to argue with it. Any features for the passenger is always a good thing. Other features from the Sportsman that we've seen before from Polaris is the under rack front storage, which is really cool. Up here, you're not obviously going to fit a lot of stuff, but you can definitely fit some stuff. And you can get your battery really easily. That's really nice if you ever need to boost or jump or whatever. You've got other things you can get to under here, but you can store stuff up here. You know, there's a decent amount of stuff you can put in here. The argument a lot of people make, and they're not wrong, is that once this is loaded and locked down, especially if you're going to use these bars here to hold stuff down with tie downs, you really can't get under your front rack without taking everything off. The front rack can hold 90 pounds, so you can pile a lot of junk here. So that's kind of a weird one, but it's never been an issue for me. I don't use the front rack, sorry, for loading up a lot of crap most of the time. I would put small stuff on here that would still allow me to lift it up and down. But it is something to consider that you kind of lose a bit of functionality under the rack once you put stuff on the rack. And the same goes for back here, though I will say this is a really cool feature. Obviously on the rear rack, you've got bucket indents for 5-gallon pails. So that's kind of nice if you're working around the farm or doing whatever you do with buckets. If you're a fisherman, I don't know, your bucket isn't going to slide. You can tie it down. It's going to stay secure. The center one only works if you remove the passenger seat, but that's not a big deal. The rack extender back here actually is extra extended right here, and that's because you have a rear under rack storage bin that is massive. Like it goes way, way in there. It's huge. And that's cool. That's great. I think this is super smart. Again, it's under the rack, so it's going to be difficult to get to once everything's loaded on here, but it's such a great storage area that would be otherwise wasted space. And I think that's smart. Now, if it was me, and this is just my idea, but if it was me, I might have put this lid in a different orientation and made that storage bin accessible from underneath the passenger seat. Take the passenger seat off and get into the storage bin, because again, when you're loaded up here, you can't get to it, but the passenger seat would still be unencumbered. So that would be what I would do. I'm not complaining. I love this feature. It's really great. It's even lockable. You can put little padlocks on here so you can't get it open. That's pretty smart. You have a 1.25-inch hitch receiver back here that can tow 1,300 and some odd pounds. Your rear rack capacity is 180 pounds for a combined 270 pounds of rack capacity. 80 pounds is a lot. There's also lock and ride points all over the place on the rear. So there are accessories that can fit in here and are designed to fit with the passenger seat. There are also accessories that are just designed to fit anywhere and will fit on this. So there's a lot of options in terms of upgrades and accessories and so on and so forth. This engine makes 44 horsepower, which when you put that in perspective, there are 700 class ATVs that don't make that much. It's a great motor. It's strong down low. It runs relatively smooth. It does vibrate. It's not the most refined motor, but once you're under power, it's actually pretty smooth. It's got really, really good torque, as I said. It's decently fast on top. I mean, we've got like just a hair under 100 kilometers an hour out of it going down a hill, so around 60 miles an hour. A little less than 60 is what its top speed will be. But for trail riding, for just cruising on the trail, this really is all you need. You don't need any more power than this. This is comfortable, it's smooth, it's easy to control the power, it's not jerky, it's not abrupt, it's not like when you're going over rough terrain, it's not gonna like, you know, grab too much throttle and make your passenger at the back flopping around like a half-baked salmon. It doesn't do any of that stuff, which is nice. And that's why I think if I was gonna pick a two-up, I probably would pick the 570. I'd probably pick this vehicle exactly. You can get an 850 and you can get a 1000 touring, but for the average rider, for the normal person who's out with their wife or kid or whatever on the back, the 570 is more than good enough. I guess one thing this gauge pod kind of acts as, because it's so huge, is like a little tiny windshield. Go figure, eh? What else can we talk about? I mean, it's a great looking ATV. It's got painted plastics. That's another thing you get with the Ultimate package, is you get the painted plastics. Can't really think of anything else. I mean, it's got all these features. It's got everything you could want. It looks tough. That's one of the things. The new redesign looks super tough. I mean, the accent lighting is wicked cool, but just the overall look of the vehicle is super tough. And I think that's really good, because if I spend my money on an ATV or side-by-side, I want it to look cool. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I know we got to start it so you can hear it run. Sounds like every other 570 you've ever heard run, but if I don't do this, I get yelled at, so here we go. You can see when I'm doing that, the handlebars don't vibrate at all. They're really smooth. That's pretty impressive. I guess one other thing to talk about is the passenger footrests. They got great knurled, kind of raised foot peg areas, but this is another area I think all manufacturers can do better on, especially on two-up vehicles. Why are there not adjustable foot peg heights? Why can't I move something up? When I put my daughter back here, I have two daughters, and I put my younger daughter, she's not very tall. Her feet don't reach the foot pegs, so she's holding on only with her hands, which is really hard on her shoulders. My older daughter can just barely reach the foot pegs, so she's stretched all the way out. And then my wife gets on, she can reach the foot pegs. So I don't understand why there couldn't be some sort of system where you can just put a block or an adjustable thing or whatever in there to match different size riders. That seems like a big oversight to me, and something that I think could be fixed in the future. Now, the other comment I want to make about this vehicle is overall fit, finish, and build quality, and it is superb. I really have to say that it is really good. Polaris has been working really hard on their reliability, quality, and durability, and this vehicle is pretty good evidence of that. I mean, this is not a top-of-the-line vehicle. It's a top-of-the-line 570, but it's definitely not a top-of-the-line 2-up ATV. You've got an 850 and a 1000 that rest above this in a much higher price category, and yet, you know, all the fitment are on this vehicle. Everywhere you look, you've got clean welds, you know, everything is nice. The paint job is nice. All the coatings are nice. It just is really well put together. It's really nice looking, and I would be more than proud to own this vehicle and have it in my garage. For sure, I would never feel like I'd lost out on anything. So there you go. That is my overview of Polaris's 2025 Sportsman 570 Ultimate. I'm super impressed. I love it. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you click that like button. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. It might not mean a lot to you, but it means a lot to us. And if you want to be updated as we put forward new segments, uploading new walkarounds and other things, turn the bell on. You'll get a notification as soon as we upload something new, and it's happening on a regular basis, so you don't want to miss that. Leave comments. If you guys got any questions or comments or anything, please leave those. We do try and read as many of them as possible and respond to the ones that warrant it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of the Dirt Trax Nation, and we'll see you guys on the next one.